Hey, beautiful people. So don't forget, I have live videos on the second Saturday of every month. And patrons, we have our Zoom meetings on the first and second Saturdays of the month. And if you want to support what I'm doing, you can look in the description, buy me a coffee if you think it's worth it. So today we're going to talk about how the law of attraction really works. I'm explaining it with science because I believe it is science. And I don't believe it's spiritual because electricity used to be considered spiritual because it was a whole foreign thing. There was a time where radio was considered spirits and magic. There's a whole lot more to this world. And if any of you have done any entheogens and trips and seen things, it's made you question your current state of reality. The reality, the things that we think are reality, we challenge now through these experiences. And if those things are true, and then what we see when we're on entheogens are actually objectively true and not just our personal take on it and experiences, then it makes sense to me. I get that. And to me, it's following the same rules as the science follows that we do know about, that we have already quantified. And it would be like saying, I'm in a cabin in the woods and I just walk in and there's no electricity. And someone said, well, you just reach over the wall and do this and it'll come on. Well, they're not wrong. Like if electricity were wired into the house, you would flip the switch and electricity would come on, right? But before you can just do that, you have to call an electrician and they have to give you an estimate and you have to agree to it, and then they have to go get all the stuff and bring it out there, and then they have to rough it in, and then you have to pay to get an inspector to come out, and you got to wait for that appointment. The inspector comes out and he may leave notes and not approve it, and then your electrician's got to come back and they've got to, and in between there you get bad weather, and then that delays everything, and then maybe it damages something and you got to get that repaired. This analogy is dead on, bear with me. You get that repair made, you get the electrician back, he finishes the work, you get the inspector back out, and then you walk in and you flip the switch and you don't get the electricity. And you're like, but I did all the work and I didn't get the thing. And then you got to call the electrician back out. And it seems like everything has failed, but it isn't. You are so much closer now that all that has happened than you were when you just walked in the cabin and there was nothing, no infrastructure there. And it was just a small thing, he had to come and repair a small thing, and then he got light, right? And that seems like an incredible amount of work to just flip that switch and get light. It doesn't matter how much work it seems like. It will never change the truth that when you walk into a cabin and it has not been wired for electricity, you're not going to get any. And this amount of work must be done to get the electricity. The way that it really does work is that your feelings have energy. Your feelings also work in your biology. They have a place in your body where you can feel them. When you get good enough at feeling anger or shame or sadness, you will feel a spot in your body. It's actually causing sensations in your nerves, which means chemicals are trading hands, trading places, and getting exchanged, right? And nerve impulses are moving. That's chemistry, and it's physics, and it's electric current. And all of those have energy, and energy is getting moved. And then where is it going? How is it leaving your body? I have my ideas and my theories about it. I don't want to belabor the point, but it's riding on what we don't know yet, what we don't have names for, what we can't quantify. And then it can create actions. However, if it's one small thought or a feeling, it's going to have a small amount of energy behind it, as opposed to someone who is so completely broken and narcissistic that they are angry and they move everything in their lives to one goal and they never stop doing it, and then they become a Hitler and they wield incredible power. Well, it wasn't any one day, and it wasn't any one anger, and it wasn't any one thought. It was the accumulation of all of it. And the same is true with you. And I'm telling you that because I don't want you to think that if you're in a really bad place and you're upside down in your life, that it's impossible. It isn't. It just may take a little bit more work because you're the cabin in the woods that hasn't been wired for electricity yet. So one of the things you're going to have to do is make sure that you have your life in order, because if you are living in a constant state of panic and anxiety, it's impossible. You've got to be living above zero. Zero is neutral. You've got to be moving upward, right? You've got to be creating positivity, positive interactions, forward momentum, and the ability to be at peace and content, and the ability to think of the things that you want, and the ability to take action in that direction. And you can't do that if you are in a constant state of panic and anxiety. I say you are below zero. If you are in an abusive relationship, you are below zero. If you are in poverty, you are below zero. There are many things in your life. You are not a victim, but there are things you are going to have to do to get yourself to zero. And the hard part of the law of attraction that they don't talk about is that it's not your fault. However, it has become your responsibility, and that sucks because it will depend on the country you live in, the amount of health care you have access to, or the amount of clean water, or the amount of decent food, or the amount of sleep that you can get, or whether you're lucky and you have someone supporting you to help you pay for these things. If you don't have any of those things and you happen to be born under the wrong government or living in the wrong place, the deck is going to be stacked against you. And what sucks is the amount of gaslighting you're going to be told and that you're going to get by people who got lucky and made it, got lucky and were born in the right place, or the right skin color, or in the right decade. And I need you, first of all, to ignore all of it. And I need you to ignore anyone who says all you need to do is just that whole sentence. Anything that follows it, ignore it. Because clearly you're doing the best you can. And I can't give you the exact things to do because I'm not in your life. I can't tell you the exact things to do. But I'm going to make another video about this point because I don't want this video to be about that. I just want to validate you to say it's not all your fault. And even if you've made some pretty bad choices, I'm pretty sure you made them because they were the best choices you could make at the time, even if they were crap, okay? So another video will be coming on that. So let's say that you've already watched that video. Let's say you are working on getting yourself up to zero. And I have found myself at zero when I found the Amanita mushroom, when I took it, when I didn't have any anxiety anymore. But I had been working to get myself to zero for a long time. And if you see my story, those 9 months I spent on the balcony alone, that propelled me pretty far forward towards zero. And then the suicidal thing. And I'm going to do a whole video on suicide and being suicidal and coming out of that. And then getting out of panic and anxiety, I would say, is the number one largest thing you can do. Even if you're still addicted to something and you're in a bad relationship and you are homeless and you don't have access to good food or health care. Because if you can get out of a constant state of anxiety, and let me tell you, anxiety is a lot more than you think it is. I've already made a video on what anxiety is. You need to go find that in the playlist. I may add it to this playlist also. Maybe I'll stick it at the bottom of this playlist. Go down the bottom and see if it's down there. Find out what anxiety really is. And I would venture to say 95% of what I hear people complain about is they're complaining about a thing, but it's root as anxiety. So if you can get your anxiety under control, you are going to be well on your way. So here's the thing. If you feel like there's no reason why you don't have the things you want, and you've been using the law of attraction, and you don't understand why you don't have more, and why you seem to fail a lot, and it's because they didn't give you the whole story because they just want to make you happy and sell you shit. And while I want you to be happy, I don't want you to hate yourself and feel like a failure and give up. I'm going to tell you all of it, the truth of it. And the truth is, it's not all up to you. It's not all within your power. Here's the thing about your power. You have power over yourself, but what you don't have power over are stronger people around you. Even the strangers that you haven't met that may actually be affecting your life. So let's say you live in an apartment complex and it's owned by a corporation, and that corporation's got a lot of money, and they're making decisions that in the future are going to affect you, but you're starting to feel it now. And you don't understand why you're feeling some anxiety, or you don't understand why things you're trying to do, maybe a class that you're trying to hold in the clubhouse of that apartment complex, and things keep going wrong and it keeps failing and you really need the money from it. It very well could be that the higher ups in the corporation are about to do away with all of the clubhouses, and they're already sending that energy down the pipeline in making the plans to destroy that clubhouse and use that land or that space for something else, it's because their energy is powerful, because it's got a lot of money. There's a lot of stuff being talked about. Contractors are being chosen. Plans are being drawn up all around their properties. And let's say they've got 150 properties. That has a lot of energy behind it. That may be why you can't get that class. Remember the car analogy? And you can drive your car out of your driveway. But as you get further and further away from your home, there's going to be more and more cars around you and involved in what you can and can't do. And let's say that you've driven this same route many times before. What you don't have control over is that everything is going perfectly fine and you're in a perfectly fine mood. But as you work your way out onto larger and larger thoroughfares, all of a sudden you run into a traffic jam, like maybe there's an accident. And now the cars are all backed up and you can't move and you can't go anywhere and you're all blocked in. Did you do something wrong all of a sudden when it's not working? No. That's one example. The other example is, let's say that you need to be at a very specific point on a sidewalk where somebody left a drawing and you're playing a game, and so you've set your nav and you know the address, and then you know you've got to follow the directions. You walk to a certain place in the park to a place on the sidewalk, and there's a drawing on the sidewalk. But you've got to get to a singular point on the earth from where you're standing in your house. And let's say you've played this game a lot and you're good at it. You've never had a problem before. And you're on your way and you're going and the light turns green and you start to go through the light and someone hits you from the side, takes your bumper right off, puts a big dent in the headlight, they go spinning. You had no control over that. And here's where the LOA people gaslight you. They say, you brought that on yourself, because they need to nitpick and have everything in a grid, and everything in life needs to have some reason because they're afraid. Shit happens. Now, there may actually be a reason, and if you could trace it back enough to the manufacturer and the day that that brake was put together, and then the energy behind that, that's another whole thing. Yes, machines have energy. I know everyone thinks it's only living things that have energy, but nope, machines have energy too. So if you run into that situation where you were doing something for fun and you were trying to get to that one point where that one little drawing was, and you're going through a light and you're doing everything correctly and you get hit, that's not some small little correction in the road. That's a major thing that's going to stop your day, right? But it's not your fault. It's chaos theory. It's entropy. Entropy is a thing. It happens in the universe. Things work toward disarray. There is also the hopes and dreams of other people. And the more people you have in your life, the more their hopes, wants, and dreams are going to affect you and yours. And you make that agreement when you allow people into your life, which is why your therapist and people tell you, be careful who you run with. Be careful who your friends are. When they talk to you, they're pretty scathing, if they're any good, about saying, are you sure this is a relationship you really need to have in your life? Or you really need to be setting better boundaries. It is not excusable. It is not a small thing if you say, yeah, but I like him and it doesn't matter, whatever, I'll help him out. I don't mind helping him out. And you laugh it off, and I just have trouble setting boundaries. I just have trouble being mean like that. I don't know. I'm just a people pleaser. I just like to help people. I just. So what you're going to have to choose between is, do you want the life that you want? Do you want to be able to use the law of attraction to bring the things into your life that you deserve and that you want? Do you want to have a life that is peaceful and flows? Or would you rather just have ease of living in the moment and laughing something off because you don't want to be challenged to do something a little difficult? Because I can tell you, if you don't have the things in your life that you want, there's a reason. You have the things in your life that you have been actively manifesting. I know they say that, and I know it makes no sense because you don't think you're actively manifesting it. But I'm saying that if you need to set a boundary and tell someone no, if you're a giver and it's hard for you to say no, you really need to start saying no, because it's the accumulation of all these not taking care of yourself that are the reason you're watching this video, because you don't have the things that you want and you're trying to figure out how to do it. Except that you already know how to do it and you're just not doing it because it's hard in that moment. Well, of course it's hard. You don't get from where I was 15 years ago to where I am right now by just doing this. Just like you don't walk into a cabin that is not wired for electricity and do this and expect it to come on. If everything was wired, it would come on. If you were in a place in your life where you were supposed to be able to bring these things to you that you want, you'd already have them. You already know what I'm talking about. There are things you need to get out of your life. There are habits you need to create, and there are habits you need to break. There are things you need to be doing, like saying no, like speaking up, like walking away, like adding to. Budgeting, spending less, spending more in the right direction. Whatever it is for you, if you know you need to be doing it and you want to pretend like that has nothing to do with manifesting and the law of attraction, okay, that's random, but okay, because every choice you make that is shitty, and yes, not taking care of your business is shitty to yourself. Every time you do that, you are keeping energy in your life that is stacking the debt against you. If you are in a car and you are keeping pace with someone who is on their phone and they're weaving over into your lane, and then they're weaving over into someone else's lane, and they're weaving over into your lane, and you're getting distracted, you are now in a situation where you are not an optimal driver. And now you're an accident waiting to happen. But you're still pacing this person. Why are you doing that? Get around the car in front of you. Do whatever you got to do. Back up so this car moves on. Do what you have to do so you're not pacing someone who's constantly doing. That's what these bad habits are. Except I would venture to say they're a little worse than that. They're running you off the road constantly because they're affecting you. Their energy is invading your life. That energy of you not saying no or not saying yes, of tolerating shitty behavior. Anything that you are doing that is hurting you is hurting your chances of moving forward. And they're the reason why you're not able to get to zero. Or if you're at zero and you feel like you're doing pretty well, you're stuck. It's like this. If energy is moving and it's good, positive energy, right? And someone has negative energy, and you put two things that aren't on the same wavelength together, you create a disharmonic energy, right? That is one path of energy now that you're not using to bring what you want into your life. But you're putting energy out everywhere. You're putting out hundreds of thousands of pieces of energy all the time. And now that's just one. But now add that up times everything that you eat, and every word that comes out of your mouth, and every thought that you think, and every conversation that you have, and the person you're sleeping next to, and the person that you talk to every day, or all the people you talk to every day, and the cashier, and the clerk, and the person who helped you, and the person on the phone, and the bill that you had to call about. Every one of these is pieces of energy. They're a line of energy moving in and out of your life. If you have a negative attitude and you're feeling anxious and you say one word as opposed to a different word to the person on the other end of that phone, and they shift down slightly energetically, that is an avenue where you are no longer bringing good energy out and back in. There's no more positive exchange of energy. And that word could be something as simple as, well, I just don't understand why this has to keep being a problem. Versus, well, this is the third time I've had to call about it, and I'm just hoping maybe you could be the person to maybe figure it out for me or something, because I'm just feeling so frustrated. You said the same thing, but you said it completely differently. And it's not just words. There's a feeling behind wanting to say it one way versus wanting to say it another. Do you see what I'm saying? So how do you create the feelings that you need to be creating so that you are starting to move the correct amount of energy? Well, first you've got to change your life situation, and I'll make a video about that. But second is not judging, and I'm going to have to make a whole video on that because it's not what you think. You need to build your construct that your energy is going to ride on. Not everything is up to you. You do not live in a vacuum. You live where everything is moving energy, and you can want what you want, but you're not going to get it by yourself. And you're going to be stopped by other energies, or you're going to be pushed forward by other energies, and a mixture of the two. And even when everything's going great, you're still going to be negatively affected because randomness, because chaos. Because even though I'm loving my life, the energy behind my channel is amazing, I still have things like, I'm just getting back from getting another channel strike on a video that was uploaded a year ago. I didn't do anything to warrant that. The bots crawled it, and these are things that are not my fault. This is entropy. This is chaos. This is the fact that we do not live in a vacuum, and my channel is not in a vacuum. And the larger my channel gets, yes, the more energy I'm putting out there, the more power I have to generate more energy. And if you go to the other side, if you take an entheogen and you get over there, you know, yes, it's amazing and beautiful, and you're aware of your power, and you're aware of thoughts become things, but you're also aware that there's other energies there, and they can do things to you, but you also learn you do still have power over it, that you can use your thoughts to make things happen and say no and ask questions. But then also things happen to you because we don't live in a vacuum. So the law of attraction is not pure. You are not all powerful. There is chaos. And just sometimes shit fucking happens. And it ain't your fault. But it ain't all you. And you don't have total control. So you are free to disagree with me. I am one freaking woman on one freaking channel. It's a matter of us getting there and understanding it. Thanks for listening. Buy me a coffee if you think that I've earned it. Check the description. I love you, beautiful people.